I want to quickly explain what the inverse function is. If we have a function f of x equals 0 and 1, then the inverse reverses the function and the inverse becomes 1 and 0. That's all that the inverse does. So if we have a function y equals mx plus b, a linear function, then the equation for the inverse function is going to be x equals my plus b. Just as we reversed x and y here, we are just reversing them in these two. And so, for example, if we have a function y equals 2x plus 1, let's call this equation 1, then the inverse equation becomes x equals 2y plus 1. All that we are doing is that we are replacing x by y. Now from 1, let's assume we want to find y when x is equal to 0. Then y becomes 2 times 0 plus 1. Now 2 times 0 is 0, 0 plus 1 is 1. So y becomes 1. And so this gives us our function value when x is 0, y is 1. Now we know that the inverse equation is 2y plus 1. Now let us put y to be equal to 0 and see if this reverses the function. And so when y is 0, x becomes 2 times 0 plus 1. And 2 times 0 is 0 and x is equal to 1. And so we have the inverse such that x is 1 when we put y to be equal to 0. And so as you can see from here and there, when we use the inverse equation, the function is reversed such that 0, 1 becomes 1, 0. Now let's go ahead and find the inverse function. Now from y equals 2x plus 1, we write the inverse equation as x equals 2y plus 1. Let's go ahead and solve for y in equation 2. Now in equation 2, we see that x minus 1 is equal to 2y. And so y is equal to x minus 1 over 2. Let's call that 3. Now this equation must be different from the first one. The y here is different from the y there. The y in the first equation is the y for the function, and the y in the second equation is the y for the inverse equation in 2. And so what we do is that we replace this y by the expression f raised to the power 1x, which is the inverse symbol over 2. Let's go ahead and test this. In equation 1, y is equal to 2x plus 1. Let's put x to be equal to 0. And as we know, when we do that, y becomes 1. And so this gives us a point 0 and 1. Now let's look at our inverse function equals x minus 1 over 2. Here, let's put our x to be equal to 1 because we want to reverse this. And f inverse of 1 becomes 1 minus 1 over 2, which is 0 over 2, which is 0. And so when x is 1, y is equal to what? 0. And this gives us the inverse of that as before. Thank you for watching. Please submit all questions and I'll be there to answer. Goodbye.